So this is the Phase 3 podcast with Brandon Draven discussing the entire MCU Phase 3, starting with Civil War all the way to Captain Marvel. And, we're just right around the corner from Avengers Endgame, so we're going to revisit the entire third phase of the MCU. And then we're all going to go see Endgame and have a good time. So this was originally on the Geekdom 101 podcast, geekdom101.libsyn.com, but here is my retrospective on all the movies in Phase 3 of the MCU. I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to talking about Endgame with you guys later this week. It's going to be awesome. And welcome back to the Geekdom 101 podcast as we continue our look back at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this time Phase 3. We're going to talk about Captain America Civil War, which kicked off everything, all the way to Avengers Endgame, which as of this recording we have not watched yet. Maybe we'll come back and do like a discussion about it after we see it, because if it's going to be that big of a movie, then it's going to be worth discussing. So joining me, as he was here for Phase 1 and Phase 2, Brandon Draven is here to talk about the MCU.
What's up, man? I'm ready to finish this bad boy up and go over to see Endgame, which has me very, very excited. Very excited.
Yes, very exciting. It's all been building to Endgame. They were saying it was building to Infinity War, and it was, but really this is the big blow-off. This is the big finale of the Thanos storyline, at least for right now. Now, one thing I liked about Phase 3 is this is when they started to do those the D23 panels, and they revealed like almost the entire plan for this phase before they even started, before the movies were even coming out, starting with Civil War, which I remember Kevin Feige's presentation, he made you think it was going to be like the Serpentine Squad or whatever it was. I forget what he actually said. And it wound up being Civil War, and that's because the Civil War storyline in 2008 was a huge, huge thing. But you and I were talking back then, and I remember you and I discussing that there's no way they could adapt that storyline, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't do that storyline in one movie. The actual Civil War storyline, the way it was presented in the comics, would have taken up multiple films to really do. So what they did was they gave us a different kind of movie, which was actually it's my favorite one. I was surprised as I was going into it thinking, man, they're not going to really do it right, and I love that freaking film. And
I love it, bro. It's my favorite one as well.
Now, we should discuss kind of the early plans here, and then we're going to get into, like, the Spider-Man involvement and whatnot with Amy Pascal over at Sony. But, okay, so you watched that presentation Kevin Feige gave, and if you remember, there were some things that were changed. Like, originally, it was going to be Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, like the Harry Potter and, the Hunger Games. Yeah, and then they said, well, we're going to change the names for whatever reason. I guess maybe to make people forget that it's a two-parter and they would be shocked at the cliffhanger. I don't really know. But they also added, they announced Black Panther a while back. They announced all this a while back. But they took away the Inhumans.
That's right. Well,
they didn't get over, bro.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the last show, how the Inhumans were thrown over to the television show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then they ended up doing a deal with IMAX, where IMAX paid for some of the pilot to be shot for the Inhumans, and then they decided to release Inhumans Episode 1 and 2 on IMAX, and it was one of the biggest flops, possibly the biggest flop in the Marvel Cinematic Universe history. And so after that, they scrapped everything, they canceled the show, and now the Inhumans don't really exist anymore. And now that they got the rights to the X-Men again, they probably will never exist again. So that's pretty much what happened there.
They won't have a big role at all. Now, let's talk about the big story, I think, with Phase 3 and that is the collaboration between Marvel Studios and Sony. So, Marvel Entertainment, the comic book company, sold the rights to Spider-Man back in the 90s to Sony. And as a result of that, Sony started to produce a lot of Spider-Man content. Not just, TV shows, but also we got the Sam Raimi trilogy. We got the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies. That was supposed to be more, but it flopped. And then there was a desire to bring in Spider-Man to the MCU because he is, let's talk about that real quick. Spider-Man is the poster boy for Marvel. That is the top guy. That's like their mascot. And Kevin Feige thought it would be right to do it, so he made a deal with Amy Pascal, who is not very well liked by movie fans, mostly because of what she did to Ghostbusters and, her I guess SJW kind of mentality here, but they made a deal with Kevin Feige to bring in Spider-Man, and I thought it was a beneficial deal. I believe the it was 5 movies. It was Captain America: Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, and Far From Home. Now, were the 5 movies.
Yes.
The contracts are. So we might not get any more Spider-Man after Far From Home, even though I think we will.
Yeah, and also it was the lack of box office performance for the Amazing Spider-Man films that convinced Sony to actually go through with the deal, because if those had made a lot of money and had they become critically successful, Sony was going to tell them to go fuck themselves, and they were
going to make their own Spider-Verse. That was the plan. They were going to make their own Spider-Verse with the Sinister Six and Venom and all that stuff.
That's right. They introduced some of the Sinister Six in Amazing Spider-Man 2 with our boy Paul Giamatti, the alpha who always plays a beta in movies, bro. And he was gonna be Rhino. And they tease them, and then that's it. We're never gonna get a conclusion to that, because they totally scrapped that entire universe. And of course, there was others at the time, and now the scuttlebutt is that Marvel's gonna do their own Sinister Six, which was teased at the end of Homecoming. So they have their plans, and I think they are gonna keep that license, because they wouldn't have never gone through and planted some seeds using Spider-Man, especially with some of the rumors that are out there as far as Endgame, which we're not going to get into here because they're on spoilers.
There were crazy rumors. Did you ever hear about that rumor that Sony was going to actually bring in Tom Holland to do their Spider-Man movies without the MCU? They were going to basically have Tom Holland play Spider-Man in both universes.
Well, they could, because they introduced Venom, so they definitely could still go that route. Yeah, and Venom, even though it was a critical disappointment, it made tons and tons of money to warrant a sequel.
Overseas,
yeah. So that one's already green lighted for a sequel. So we are gonna get a Venom Part 2.
Remember, the rumor was that Spider-Man Tom Holland was gonna make a cameo in that movie, and it never happened. I thought that was BS, but it turned out it was BS. But that was a big rumor for a while.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a weird universe, because that universe is very dark. So I don't know how this universe would kind of interact with that one.
Spider-Man's character is usually not that dark. It has been, but now correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading that part of this Sony deal, doesn't Sony make like 90% of the money from these movies? Like, I remember hearing that it's really beneficial for them financially.
Yes, it is, and it's more than what Marvel's taking in. I don't know if it's 90, but it's still their property. And essentially, Marvel, the only thing they're able to do is just be able to advance their storylines using the character. But everything else, even Homecoming, is actually a Sony film. If you see the way it starts, and it's a Sony production, so that's why it looks a little different than the rest of them in a lot of ways. But
it's produced by Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal. She gets credited for it.
Yeah, so they're still making tons of money, and they don't have to do shit. So it benefits Sony to do this. I mean, they're definitely benefiting.
They're basically licensing the character out for other people to use, essentially.
Which is wacky, because it's not their character, bro.
No, it's actually Marvel's character. It's Disney's character, bro. So they're basically, you know what it is, bro? It's like I steal your car and you can pay me to borrow it. That's pretty much what it is.
Oh, and not steal it. Just it's like you pawn it and then you have to pay for it.
Yeah, pretty much. That sounds like, yeah. You know what? That's even better. That's a better analogy there.
So if you're ever running into hard times with your Geekdom 101 channel, don't go selling half of it and then have to buy your own half back, bro.
Brother, I'm gonna quote Hulk Hogan, bro. I'm not for sale, dog. Sorry, DiBiase, but I'm not for sale. But yeah, it's just interesting to me that you know what's interesting. What I do like about Sony is, as much as I trash talk Amy Pascal, Into the Spider-Verse was great. So if they're gonna make animated Spider-Verse films alongside the live-action MCU movies, I think that could work. I think that would actually be beneficial to both parties.
And let's talk a little bit about how it was them more so than Fox. Although a lot of people like this whole cycle of these, Marvel characters and comic book characters getting over. For whatever reason, they traced it all the way back to the X-Men 1 film, right? Because that one was the one that was a tad more grounded than the ones that came before it, and the DNA of X-Men 1 could be seen in all the films that came after it, dealing with superheroes, including where we're at today. But I gotta say that it was Spider-Man 1, the Raimi one, that really solidified the fact that you could tell good stories, even though that one doesn't age well at all because of the Green Goblin's costume, and there's a lot of problems with it. But part two
it's
is
a good film, I still think.
But part 2 is still like a near perfect movie,
Very good movie. Very, very good movie.
It's still. Well, I mean, I think Into the Spider-Verse dethroned it as my favorite Spider-Man film of all time because that was just perfect. Like I have nothing bad to say about the Spider-Verse. Is just such a great time, bro. Like no matter
it
how
was very well made.
such an intelligent script and just a great film all around. But Spider-Man 2 is still probably in my top 10 of all time comic book movies. It was just a great film and had one of the greatest teasers of all time to boot.
Yeah, well, speaking of teasers, we got that Civil War trailer, and we saw the implosion of the Avengers, which of course would be the main plot line of that film. And in the trailer, you know, originally the first trailer we saw them fighting, but there was no Spider-Man there. And then in the final trailer, we have that famous, you know, Underoos, and he does the flip. Hey everyone, what a pop, bro! What a dog! I remember that was one of the biggest pops. Like that's when you know this guy's over, bro. Spider-Man is over, dog. That's an over character forever, and he's been over for like 80 years, like Batman. Like Batman's always over, bro.
And he wasn't over in this last run. DC killed him, bro.
Well, yeah, and then Ben Affleck said, "Peace out, bro." Maybe he'll go back to playing Holden in the Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Actually, I heard the scuttlebutt is that he changed his mind. He's coming back.
Nah, why does that not surprise me, bro? The DC stories change all the time.
He just doesn't want to direct the next Batman, which he's not anyway. They already gave the assignment to someone else.
Yeah, isn't that Matt guy who used to work with JJ? The guy
I
who
think
did
so.
Planet of
Yeah.
the Apes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matt something.
Reeves,
yeah,
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
And he's a good filmmaker, so maybe he'll clean this up and make something out of it. But Civil War's my favorite film of the entire MCU. I've seen it a lot of times. Never gets old. Never gets boring. And the script is so goddamn interesting and intelligent and deep. It really, the motivations, the motivations of all the characters are so organic, bro. And that's rare when you see a script that's dealing with all these characters. And this film is the first film where you see the equity that has been built up with this entire franchise, because it's kind of the first time that we see interactions from different characters that hadn't really worked together before. And that's why people call it like Avengers 2.5 or whatever. It really is an Avengers film when you think about it.
Because they're all in there. At least most of them are, except for Thor and Hulk.
But it's mostly a Captain America movie because he's the central theme of this film.
Yeah.
And this film is
and Bucky. Yeah.
Yes, and this film introduces us to a couple things. First of all, Thunderbolt Ross is kind of like the more of the undermining heel or bad guy of this film. Because
he gotta wrestle a little bit.
He wants to kind of politically destroy the Avengers from the inside out, and he wants to make them sign the Accords.
Yeah, but this whole thing's basically a parody, or not a parody, but it's a throwback to the Patriot Act, which you and I have talked about years ago in our conspiracy shows that we've done. It's kind of like the same thing where the Avengers, the government wants control over when the Avengers go out there because of what happened in Sokovia and how people died and whatnot. And that actually led to the villain of this movie, who has no powers, but yet manages to be the most captivating villain we had up until this point.
Well, that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, because they hired Daniel Bruhl, who's a phenomenal fucking actor. He was kind of brought over to the States by our boy Quentin Tarantino in Inglourious Basterds. That's where we first saw him. But he's been an actor overseas for many years. And
don't forget William Hurt playing Thunderbolt Ross. I love William Hurt. I just wanted to say
I just put over Thunderbolt Ross about a minute.
No, I know, but I meant the actor playing him. I'm a big fan of William Hurt, bro.
So this film, one of the overarching themes that it presents is the repercussions of the vigilante aspects of the Avengers. Because think about where this film lands and how all this film is all of Tony Stark's fuck-ups coming back to bite him in the ass. That's really what it's about, because this film also, something that it does really well is that it brings elements from the previous films as a consequence to motivate this film. For example, they're still kind of reeling over the Ultron thing in this film.
That's what caused the whole thing. Yeah.
And Ultron was Tony Stark's fault. So all this shit is all because of Tony Stark's hubris and his inability to control his ego, but also his fear, which is the most important thing. And here, Tony's arc of wanting to cleanse is pretty much he wants to cleanse his soul for his mistakes. And for the first time, he's the one that wants to be obedient because of everything that he has caused. And so he's the one that wants to sign the Accords, right? Because it's like, I don't want to do any more damage. And what better way to cleanse my ego and my soul than just to go ahead and sign these Accords? And that's his motivating factor. Whereas, Captain America, on the other hand, he sees the power that the government has and how corrupt they could become, and it's like for the first time he has like a morality conflict with his government and himself, which is another super interesting when you think about it like that, because it's a kind of like an amalgamation of all the films we've seen before that lead to his decision to like not want to sign.
Yeah,
so you have,
and to add, I just want to say, to add to that, I mean, this is a great movie. We could do a whole show on just this movie.
Yes.
The fact that he's also stuck between what happened with Bucky and Tony's parents. One thing I love about the film is that it paints Tony Stark as somewhat of a heelish character, to where you're kind of more so rooting for Cap. But when you get the big reveal close to the end of the film that it was Bucky that killed his parents, they completely 180'd your emotions. Now, I went into this movie, right, with no spoilers.
Yes.
Right? And that was so, and I didn't predict it. Unlike us, where I was able to call the twist in the first 5 minutes of the movie, I didn't know that Bucky killed Tony's parents. That wasn't even a thing. And when it happened, you're seeing this big fight at the end with Cap fighting Tony, and you genuinely don't know who you want to have win, because this man Tony lost his parents, dude, to Captain America's best friend. And there's that heartbreaking scene where he's like, he's my friend, and Tony's like, so was I? Like,
yes,
man,
yes.
That hits you, bro. Like,
this is just great writing, bro. This is such a fucking classic of a movie.
No, it is. And not just that, it also introduces Spider-Man and Black Panther, which is two major characters.
We're gonna get to that. And the thing about this film too is that, again, great writing is shades of gray, right? There is no all black or all white. It puts the viewer into this. It uses the viewer's emotion to kind of give you that impact, right? Because depending on who you are watching that movie and what kind of personality you have, that's how you're gonna react to what you're seeing.
Right. That's right.
For example,
it really is a civil war.
For example, for an empathetic person, like at the end of the day, it wasn't even Bucky's fault because he was under mind control.
That's
so
right.
he's actually innocent. So if you're thinking deeper as you're watching this film, you empathize with Tony's like plight for revenge, but at the same time, you're wondering, well, Bucky's an innocent bystander because he was being manipulated by Hydra at the time, and it wasn't even up to him, you know? And so you have, and another important
But you can relate with Tony's anger here.
Of course, yeah. And also,
and his seeking vengeance.
And he's seeking vengeance. And also you have Captain America's conflict of his ethics, whereas he's gonna be loyal to his friend to the end because he understands that Bucky was under mind control, and you know, it's that old school just I'm gonna always support my friends no matter what, and that creates the conflict of all these things going on here. And you throw Helmut Zemo into the mix, who's kind of manipulating behind the scenes.
Right.
And the way they introduced Black Panther
was amazing.
Where
his origin story is in this movie more so than in his own.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. So what Helmut Zemo he bombs that conference where T'Challa's dad T'Chaka gets killed. And that introduces his character, bro. So again, they find a perfect way to. He's not shoehorned into the movie. It's a very organic way to bring him in. And not only do they bring him in perfectly, they also bring him in already full of emotions and with the motivation to remain there for the rest of the movie. That's just great writing for the time that they had here, bro. And Spider-Man, he's a little more shoehorned in, but at the same time,
But remember, he wasn't even. That's the other thing we got to talk about. He wasn't in the original script at all. That was like an extra thing because they had finalized the deal when they were still shooting this movie.
Right. So originally they were going to use the Hulk too. I believe they were also going to introduce the Hulk as another kind of.
I didn't hear that. I heard that they were purposely leaving the Hulk and Thor out for Ragnarok.
That was later. Yeah. No, you're right. No, you're right about that. But the early stages, the Hulk was going to be in here. Then they decided to keep him with Thor because they wanted to do kind of a Planet Hulk storyline, which we're going to get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that wrote him out. But and that's good too because this movie would have been too cluttered if that was the case. So that moves everything perfectly as far as what this movie's all about, and it's all about loyalty, and it's all about taking sides, and like you said, it works as this representation of where we are as a country and what sides we gotta take. And it's just a great movie. And let's talk about the airport scene, bro. That to me, that's a classic.
No, that's like the best scene. I think the best fighting scene we've seen in the MCU. I mean, I know that the Infinity War one was great too, but this is way better to me because you're seeing It's a good mix. You're seeing great mark out moments. Well, really, the action scenes in this film, I think, are very well paced. In that the movie's not nonstop action, but when the action comes, it's like the scene with Black Panther on the freeway, right, chasing after Bucky was great. I love that scene. The way he shows up, the way he does the fucking claws out. He is a badass. He's motivated. They got him over like that. They got him over quick.
And he also has this emotional baggage that you know of already. So it's not like this shape that we're just seeing show up. He already has a motivation and a purpose before he even throws on the suit, which is great.
And don't forget that infamous scene where Cap does the bicep fucking curl of the helicopter. Let's not forget.
Brother, I'll get to Infinity War. I'll say it right now. In Infinity War, when Thanos sells how strong Captain America is, bro, he kind of puts him over for like a millisecond when he's holding his fist. He's like, what the fuck? And then he just punches them. But that was classic. I love that scene.
I love it, bro. There's that, and then the whole like how Bucky's escaping the cops, and there's so many little action sequences in the film, but it doesn't. The action does not supersede the narrative, and that's such a hard thing to do when you're making movies nowadays. Is that people want action, and they want it now, but at the same time, you don't have a movie that's just constant action with no story. This has a story, and every action scene adds to the story, and I love that, and that's so hard to do. Like the
action is a consequence of the story. It's not the other way around. A lot of these films, like you'll see an action piece for no reason other than it's like an hour in, we got to throw an action scene. Here, every time you see an action piece, it's the story that's dictating it. For example, like you said, Black Panther chasing after Bucky, and then in the airport,
the scene with Crossbones at the beginning of the movie.
That's right. And in the airport, they got to get over the fact that they got to allow Bucky and Cap to leave the airport while Tony Stark and his crew are trying to avoid that. So there's a purpose there, and there's a purpose for the story. And then also we have that great MacGuffin where Zemo's entire plot, it was fake. It was a fake plot all along. That wasn't his goal. But then you don't know that until the end. Everybody thinks that Zemo has the super soldier serum and he's gonna,
he's got an army of them.
Yeah, but that wasn't even his plot, because he went back there to that Hydra zone and he killed all of them anyway. So all he wanted to do was get Tony and Captain America in the same place so he could reveal what really happened, and then he was gonna allow the Avengers to kind of implode from within, which is exactly what he did. And there's so many great things, bro, because then even Zemo's character, like at the end, he had nothing to live for. Like this is the first time, and we would see it 2 more times. We'll see it with Killmonger, and we'll see it with the Vulture. These guys are grounded.
Those are the 3 best villains of the MCU, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you count Thanos.
Well, yeah, I mean, but besides Thanos, those are and we got them all in Phase 3.
Yeah. And so these guys, their ends justifying the means are very relatable for all 3 of them. And this is where you start seeing, like, you don't have the mustache twirling bad guys, the yuck guys that we had seen before. These were actual, like, human beings either trying to get back at the Avengers for their carelessness.
Well, remember, his thing was trying to get back at them because of the Wakanda and what happened with his family. So he had a motivation to get revenge.
Not Wakanda and whatever.
Not Wakanda.
Ultron was dropping
Sokovia.
Sokovia, yeah.
Yeah, Sokovia. Yeah. Well, and also about the airport scene, there's so many great little moments within that.
Oh, I love that scene, bro.
Like the fact that and they're having the whole Wanda Maximoff Vision love story, which ends up with Vision in a sweater, which was great.
Which was very soft. That's all I'll say about that.
I know, bro. The deep push already began here, bro. But you know who got buried worse than him was freaking Steve on Fuller House, bro. Don't even get me started on how they made him into a beta on that show, bro. But
I think it meant Steve Rogers in Infinity War, which we're gonna get to. Because he also kind of got buried. He didn't get buried. He just got nothing to do with it. He got nothing to do there.
Well, we're gonna get there, but no. I love how you have the fight with Cap and Spidey, and how I love how the film showed how strong Spider-Man is. A lot of the movies with Spider-Man don't really show how strong he is, and the dude can lift cars. Like, he's very powerful. And I love, where you from, kid? Queens, Brooklyn. Like, that's a great scene. That scene hit me like, yes, like.
And the interaction with Spidey, that's what got him over, bro, that scene. Because forget about the hype in the trailer and the hype
but that's how Spider-Man is, bro. He's a wisecracking guy.
Because because his fight descended into a like a handicap match with the Falcon and Bucky.
Yeah, and he blocks the fist and he goes, "Dude, you got a metal arm? That's cool." Like they got him over, bro. Like
and then also
don't fuck with Spider-Man, bro. He ain't no bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then also Bucky got a lot of character development that we hadn't seen. He got to do a little comedy, which was pretty cool because they had that scene with him and the Falcon where they don't fit in that little buggy and they're kind of fucking get out of the way. No, you get out of the way, you know, like when they're trying to see Captain America kind of make out with Peggy's daughter, the other agent of Shield.
Yeah, right.
So they have that scene. But yeah, dude, just a great scene. What about when Ant-Man shows up, bro?
Oh,
that's
dude,
awesome,
I love it, bro. Paul Rudd, the charisma the minute he's on the screen. Hey, wait a minute, you're Captain America. He gives him the shield. Here, take this, Captain America. Like, I love that. I love
when he becomes Giant
Man. Yeah, the Empire Strikes Back joke. Like, remember when he goes inside of Tony and breaks apart like the wires, which they jack from that Turtles episode where the Turtles did it to Krang. Dude, there's so many great moments there. And then, like, they have Clint fighting Natasha. He's like, we're still friends, right? Like, I love that. Like, there's so many great, they got him over. Everybody got over in this movie, bro.
And I do love the fact that they wrote themselves into the airport so they don't have to destroy another city. So people will start saying, how many fucking cities are these people going to destroy? So they could do whatever the fuck they wanted, but they were kind of in an empty airport. So that was good how they wrote that into that. Yeah, that's a great scene, bro. And like you said, everybody got their like their 2 minutes of getting over, and it worked because they got over. And so then the only thing about that I gotta say though, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, it kind of peaks after that scene though, right? A little bit, the film.
Well, that was the big highlight of the film, but then it becomes much more of an emotional journey with Stark, you know, because we're over here thinking that, you know, Stark's just being a prick. And then once you find out about his family, it just totally changes everything, bro. And I love how at the end, T'Challa, who could have let Zemo kill himself because he did lose his daddy because of Zemo's BS, lets him live, bro. Does the right thing.
And that shows that T'Challa is a true king because he thought beyond himself at that point. He saved another person's life, you know.
Yes, and I love also the whole story where we see Aunt May for the first time, played by Marissa Tomei.
And Tony's trying to like throw some lines at her a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And I love the whole thing where they have that conversation where Tony knows everything about him. I'm glad they skipped the Spider-Man origin. We've seen that so many times, man.
Well, the first time they tease Spider-Man is in Ant-Man. When at the end when Luis is telling the story, you know, and the way he tells it, the wacky story, and then they show the Falcon looking for the Ant-Man, and then the reporter's like, you know, we have people that swing, that climb walls. You know, that was the first time they teased it. So I guess at that time they had already got the rights to, or
it could have just been on it,
or it could have just been vague. You know, the good thing is that they left it vague enough to where that could have been any superhero, but it's definitely describing Spider-Man.
Yeah. What a great movie. I love this film, and really what this movie did was it set up the plot narrative for the remainder of Phase 3, which is Tony and Steve Rogers.
They're not talking like bitches.
They're not talking. Yeah, like bitches. And of course, the whole story is, had they talked, would they have been able to stop Thanos? I don't think they would have in Infinity War, but the whole thing is it's all going to build up to the big moment in Endgame when they have to work together and put their past behind them.
And that's going to be a big emotional moment, bro, when they finally see each other and they if they make up or not, whatever. I'm sure they will, because that's like a Hollywood thing. But, you know, it's great, bro. It's great how you write this shit.
It's great.
And you leave these open threads, bro. Just little loose threads to because this movie doesn't have a happy ending. It's a very dark film. And it ends with eventually everybody gets caught when they finally catch Zemo, who's a very tragic character, by the way, because he never really has it. Well, he kind of has a resolution because he saw visually that he did destroy the Avengers, especially Captain America and Tony. So he has that, you know, as some sort of comfort, and but he doesn't die, so he's still around. And then that's how kind of the movie ends, but it doesn't end with a solution to Tony and Captain America's problem. And they kind of go their own way, and everybody kind of it ends kind of like everybody just has a little remorse towards each other at the end, because a lot of the other ones get locked up, right? You have Hawkeye, Ant-Man, and a
I
couple
think
of the other
Falcon,
ones.
right? Falcon got
Falcon,
locked
yeah.
up. Yep.
And so Tony Stark's there with them, and he's kind of telling them, "Look, you guys brought this upon yourselves, and now you guys got to pay the consequences." Because Tony's all about help working with Thunderbolt and the Accords. And then pretty much Tony warns Captain America, "Look, if you do what I think you're gonna do, you're pretty much gonna be you're gonna be on the run because that you're breaking the law."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Captain, true to his integrity and his loyalty to his friends, he goes and breaks them out anyway. And that's where the movie ends.
And I love that Captain's loyal to the American way, not to America. He was loyal to America, but what happened in Winter Soldier broke him apart because he can't even trust S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. So, oh, God, this is where the MCU got really good. And really, most of the movies we're talking about today are pretty good movies.
And also, one little caveat that's not really important. It was important when it happened, but it's not really important now. Is that War Machine Rhodey? He ends up fucking his legs up.
He got injured. Yeah,
and that's another thing that Stark has to have on his conscience, because again, all this thing goes back to Tony Stark. This entire saga is really all Tony Stark when you think about it. Like you said in a couple episodes again, he definitely is the connective tissue that brings everything together. And we're gonna see where his arc ends in Endgame, because he's kind of responsible for a lot of this shit, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, not so much Thanos, but definitely Ultron and a lot of this. So, Doctor Strange, right? I love this movie as well, bro. We're gonna have a lot of positivity here. I think the heel is a bit lacking, to be honest with you. Mads Mikkelsen, bro.
Yeah.
But this
he's kind of a means to an end heel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the real heel is fucking Dormammu. But I mean, this was a very unique movie because it's visual spectacle. They're introducing things like the Ancient One. They mentioned the staff of the human living tribunal. There's so many things here. The dark dimensions. Now with what Guardians of the Galaxy did with space and making it more cosmic. Now we're getting the other side of cosmic Marvel, which is the alternate realms and dimensions, and they're just kind of adding more lore. And again, I don't want to bury Last Jedi here, but Last Jedi didn't do any lore, and I like how with all these MCU films, you know what? I feel like burying all of Star Wars because which Star Wars films that have come out since the Disney purchase have actually added to the lore? Rogue One didn't really add to the lore that much. Solo sure as fuck didn't. There's like no real like expansion.
Well, now we know that you could be a Jedi if you have to write them to be a Jedi, like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, right, Mary Sue, bro. But
Mary Poppins when she goes back, Princess Leia.
Yeah, it's terrible. But here we have actual lore building. We've got a story with Dr. Stephen Strange, played by the Alpha Benedict Cumberbatch. He's Alpha, bro, and he looks like.
By the way, the fans wanted him to be Doctor Strange when they brought this up. There was a big. I
remember when Collider broke the story, bro, that he was going to be
online vote for him to be, and he decided to accept it because he's one of those artsy fancy actors. So who knew if he ever even wanted this job? But he got it,
and he did a great job. He nailed this character, bro, as good as as good as Robert Downey nailed Tony Stark. This is like perfect casting for him.
He's a little arrogant, I love this film too. I really enjoy this film too, but it's a little dry though. I feel like it's not
it's using the damn what's that Leo DiCaprio movie? The Inception, what? The Inception kind of style with the special effects.
Even with the dialogue, like there's not as much one-liners as there is in the other films. It's a very It's not a film that you're gonna.
It's dry, but I love it still.
You can't really quote it. It's not a quotable film.
It's like The Matrix. Well, the only real quote is the end. Dormammu, I want a bargain. That's the big quote of the movie.
And then, of course, here we also get the Easter egg of the Quantum Realm because that's one of the ones he goes to when he's trying to defeat Dormammu. And so we see it again for the second time.
Yeah, and I love that I love how clever the ending is, how he was able to use the Time Stone to screw over Dormammu, no matter how powerful Dormammu is. And Dormammu's like, he's not Satan, but he is like an evil being, in this universe. But the Infinity Stone is that much more powerful.
Yes, and also, again, this is not the reason why this doesn't have a big villain is because this is about establishing Doctor Strange and his journey from being like this egocentric doctor who just thinks he's on top of the world.
He can't even use his hands, bro.
And at the end of the day, is that long, life message of like, it doesn't matter who you are outside, because that could be taken away from you. It's who you are inside that counts. And that's what they make him understand. And once he understands that there's a world beyond himself, then that's when he becomes, Doctor Strange, and accepts the job.
And I also, a couple of things I want to point out to you. Carl Mordo and the Ancient One in the comics were portrayed by characters that resemble white men, but here we have a woman and a black man. Is this a part of Disney's whole diversity thing? Because I feel like in this movie it works because the characters are so good.
And because there's really no reason not to. Like, it's all about who does the best job in auditions and who you want to cast, And if this guy, Chiwetel Ejiofor,
I can't pronounce his name either, yeah.
Well, that's pretty a good little career himself. I mean, he did a pretty good job, and that just sets the foundation for the next Doctor Strange movie. And then what about Benedict Wong, bro, as Wong?
Yeah, Wong as Wong. He's awesome, bro.
You're invited to my wedding. Well, that's coming up later.
Right. No, I mean, and also Scott Adkins is in this movie, bro. Another one of the don't you and I pop for that guy, bro?
Well, yeah, because he's a great B-movie action star.
Yeah, undisputed, bro.
He plays one of the, and then our boy Benjamin Bratt gets a payday here.
Yeah,
it's just a continuation of
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, she's a good actress. It's just a continuation of them just always hiring these great actors to portray these characters, even like B-level characters. So all in all, it was a decent movie, not a great movie. But
I loved it. I think it was a great movie.
But it's certainly no Thor: The Dark Knight, bro, which is the one we're on, or the
Thor: The Dark Knight, bro. That's two other movies. But Thor is here in that mid-credit scene, which ends up being a thing in that movie. That whole scene where they have to find the dad or whatever.
Yes, and that's where it gets whacked. That's a very wacky movie, bro, when we get to it.
Oh, I love it, bro. See, and again, one thing I like about the MCU Phase 3 is that they're all different. They're all different films. They all feel different. They look different. It's going to be hard to top Phase 3. I'm not saying Phase 4 is going to suck, but it's going to be hard to top it.
All right, which one comes next?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Now, this movie, some people love. This is a very polarizing film. I don't think anybody really hates this movie, but I know some people think
it's not a bad movie. People shouldn't hate it, but it's not a great movie. But I'll tell you what it is.
It's a very emotional film.
It's probably the most personal and emotional film of the MCU because it is very relatable to a lot of people, and the message is a very nice emotional message.
Very powerful message.
But the execution
and Sly is in it. Let's not forget that, bro. I got a smile on my face because Sly is in this movie.
He is in this as one of the Ravagers.
That's right. Yeah, but continue.
Oh, so this is again, you could tell that James Gunn put a lot into who he is as a person when he wrote this film, and it's got a lot of very deep emotional beats, especially at the end, and it does talk a lot about how you could be what's the old saying? You could be a father, but you doesn't mean.
No, it's what Roddy Piper said, bro. Any idiot can make a baby, but it takes a man to be a father. I love that line.
That's right, and he's right.
It's true.
And here you had Yondu, who really, when you combine it with Guardians 1, he really did love his kid because remember the thing about Guardians 1 is that he was supposed to take him out for stealing the orb, and he ended up paying a big price because here he's exiled from his crew for not coming up with the orb in part 1. So right here as the movie starts, Yondu's already exiled, and all the other Ravagers kind of make fun of him. He's kind of a joke. He's kind of a joke in the community, and they end up realizing that Yondu is not the big deal that he was, but the reason was because he didn't want to kill his kid, and so Yondu's very conflicted because this is his family. This is everything to him. So the way Michael Rooker sells it here is like he kind of sells it like with pride. Like, I don't care if I'm exiled, but you could tell that he does care and he wants his community back. And that's really what. And at the end, when he finally dies and they have that big ceremony for him and he finally got accepted again. So it's very tragic because he never got to see that until his death. And so that's pretty cool here. Drax completely becomes one-dimensional here.
No, Drax is a complete comedy character in this.
At this point,
and he's like laughing at everything too.
Yeah, so at this point, he just becomes a one-dimensional character. So they actually go backwards with him, which is rare. And Rocket has some good scenes. But Drax does have some a good arc with Mantis, you know, where she kind of feels for him or whatever. And there's a lot of great scenes because even Drax is like, there's a great scene where he's there thinking, right? He's just thinking, looking out at the sunset, and then Mantis kind of touches his head, and she's like, "This guy's in a lot of pain," and he's not even expressing pain, but just you know what we know about Drax and how he misses his family. It's a very warm scene right there.
Yeah, and don't forget Kurt Russell as Ego, the Living Planet.
Oh, I love that guy, bro.
Kurt Russell's great in everything, bro. But I mean,
and he had that fat ass hair. They also do that fucking Michael Douglas technology with him too. Don't forget.
Yeah, I thought I was watching fucking Escape from New York, bro.
So they've done it. They've done it with Sam Jackson.
Yeah, Michael Douglas. They even did it with Robert Downey in Civil War. Remember, we were watching Weird Science all over again. and Kurt Russell. I mean, it pops us because we've been fans of these guys for many years, especially Sam Jackson and Kurt Russell. I mean, how many times have we put over Quentin Tarantino and John Carpenter, and those are their boys.
Yeah.
I mean, every movie, dude. And they were together in Hateful Eight, which that movie gets better every time I see it, bro.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
So I think this movie, I go back and forth on it. I saw it when I first saw it. You know what it is? It's super long too, and it feels like
I feel like the main criticism of this movie is that it's too disconnected from the MCU, and that the stuff that happens doesn't really impact anybody but you know the Guardians. It doesn't really impact the universe, but it did introduce the fact that Ego's a celestial. So I mean, there's things they bring in here and there, but you know what I'm saying. But it's not. Is it really necessary to get the entire Infinity War storyline down? Probably not. You can skip it, but it's a good movie, so I wouldn't recommend you skip it.
Yes, and also Thanos comes out in it again, bro, and we always love that. He's in it too.
Is he?
Yeah, he's in it for a little while because anytime you're gonna have Nebula and Gamora in it, those are his kids, you know. So
I don't even remember what he was in this movie. I literally don't. I have no memory of that.
So then Rocket has some good scenes with Yondu because they kind of become friends when they're in prison together, and then they have that
with that wacky like that dart thing.
Yeah, and then they have that Groot trying to get them the little wand, and he keeps on fucking it up and brings them different shit, including like a finger. No, it's a great movie, but I just felt like as much as we love Kurt Russell, like those scenes of him being with Peter Quill and just walking around the planet, which happens to be him, they were kind of like, they were just kind of boring, man. He's just talking to him and trying to convince him that he's half celestial and this and that, and that's it, bro. But at the end, when I do love that part, bro, when Eagle's about to die. And then he just tells them, "Don't do this." And then Peter Quill's like something about how like you're not my dad or something like that. Because I feel like a lot of people that when their dad abandons them and they have like some sort of success or even later on in life, they come back and they're like, "Why don't you accept me?" You know, and it's like, well, you were never there for me, so why would I? You know, and so I like that scene a lot too. And just I thought Kurt Russell did a great job right before he dies. His expression was just fucking priceless because he's such an ego, right?
It sucks that he died because he's such a great actor, bro. But I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and then you also want an A-list actor to play this role. Even though I guess in the comics they can die. Right here they did die. I guess he does die, but
well, they can. It's just very hard to kill them. But yeah, they can die.
And it's like anything. The scene, much like we were talking about earlier with Tony when he finds out that Bucky killed his parents. When Eagle tells him that he killed his mom Meredith, that really sets him over the line, bro.
And I loved it because that hit hard. Like what
because
an asshole.
Remember
that put nuclear heat on him, bro.
Because remember, it was working. Like Eagle was controlling Peter Quill, and he was gonna say yes. Because the thing is that he wanted him to stay there for the reason that Eagle was gonna get stronger, right? So Eagle was using Peter Quill anyway.
Yeah.
And
by the way, I just want to say in the comics, Ego is not Peter Quill's dad. Just wanted to.
So who's his dad?
This character named Jason. I'm serious.
What a letdown, bro.
He's not a big deal at all, bro.
But Peter Quill still half alien, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as far as I think, I'm pretty sure he's half alien. Is he half alien?
Anyways,
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he's Emperor Jason. Yeah, but anyways, what do you call it?
So
no, Ego was actually a planet. He had no human form. but in this movie they had to compromise.
So as Eagle's dying, Yondu comes in and he picks up Peter Quill, because Peter Quill's just frozen, like he's gonna die with Eagle, right? Because the planet's imploding,
right?
And he takes him up or whatever, and then that's where Yondu sacrifices himself,
yep,
to allow Peter Quill to live, because they're in these little pods and it only fits one of them, and then he died. And then he's like, I'm Mary Poppins, yo, and that's kind of like the classic line, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. He dies. He freezes in space or whatever, and that's the end of the movie, bro. But it's a great movie. I mean, now that I talk about it, it's a pretty good movie. Except it's a little too long.
Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now, okay, I like this movie. I don't think it ages that well, and I might get shit for this, but I like it a lot. It's a fun film. I feel like, to be real with you, I feel like Michael Keaton carries this movie. Every scene he's in is just incredible, but it's Michael Keaton, so what do you expect? Jon Favreau's hilarious. Robert Downey's great. Marissa Tomei is great. Donald Glover's great. There's great performances all throughout the movie.
The Samoan best friend is great.
That's right, bro. Baby Samoa Joe. But I also feel like the movie, it's very by the numbers, which we've talked about, and it's just not as good as Spider-Man 1 and 2 from the Raimi films. I feel like it's not. It's fun. It's got a little teenage thing going on, which it's a fun little film, but it's just not one that I've really gone back to that much, and I love Spider-Man.
And every Spider-Man's going to have that little teenage thing because he's a teenager.
Well, unless they go by the 80s Spider-Man, which is more grown up, which I liked how in Spider-Verse they actually had one of them be that Spider-Man.
Yes. No, I find this film pretty good. Like you said, it is the Michael Keaton show in a lot of ways.
The scene where the classic scene where he's in the car and he turns around and he realizes that that's her dad is great, bro.
I love that scene. That's my favorite scene, bro.
That's the best scene in the movie.
That's a great scene because they both know who each other is, but they never say it.
That's right, bro. I love it, bro. And it's a very awkward situation.
And then from that point forward, there is no going back. Because from that point forward, the movie goes into the third act, and it's like fucking third gear all the way. Because at that point, it becomes who's gonna get to each other first, So, and I love the way how the Vulture, Adrian Toomes, he's kind of he's been victimized by the fact that he lost his contract to those assholes at fucking Shield, because they come and take over the Battle of New York, all the salvage, because Adrian Toomes owns a salvage company. And he was going to make a lot of money from that because his job was to clean up New York City. Imagine the construction job you would have to do that. Everybody would want that contract. So as he's going through the rubble, he discovers that there's alien technology there, and he creates the Vulture suit from that, and other weaponaries as well.
Yep.
And
that might lead into what's going later, but keep going. Sorry.
And he has his goons with him, which were also his workers, right?
Yeah.
And so. Yes, so that drives the plot of the movie, and it's like one of the themes there is the recession that hit us in 2008, where a lot of people lost their jobs, and they lost their jobs as a consequence of all these banks kind of like taking all that money and not the whole credit collapse and everything, and a lot of the middle class ended up in poverty because of the billionaires' fuck ups. So here we have that theme going on. And so somebody like Adrian Toomes is like, fuck it, I got this technology, I lost my contract, I got no job, I have a family that I got to support, so I got to do what I got to do to make it right.
Another relatable villain, yeah.
And so that's his motivation. And when Peter Parker comes on the scene, it's like, you're not only, it's not even affecting me as a person, you're taking money away from my family's, table, or you're taking food away from my family's table, and that's something that I cannot allow. And so he's almost driven by this like blind loyalty to the fact that he's got to provide for his family, right? Which again is so super relatable to a lot of people. And it's not till the end where he kind of realizes that maybe he went a little overboard, although he never changes who he is. It's just more of a acceptance that maybe what he was doing wasn't the right thing. And then they have Peter Parker kind of dating his daughter or whatever. So that's pretty much the movie. And again, Tom Holland did a great job. If they would have cast the wrong guy, I think this movie would have been a little worse off than it is, because they needed to have a good.
I mean, I like it, I just don't love it.
Yeah, and then they introduced Shocker 1 and 2, and I think Shocker 2 is the one that's kind of like the one that's over in the comics.
Well, they also introduced Aaron Davis, which is the Prowler, who's Miles Morales' uncle. right? That's Donald Glover's character.
Yes.
And in the post-credit scene or in the mid-credit scene, they introduced the Scorpion. That's the guy who the Vulture talks to in the prison cell. Who I think Vulture's going for a babyface turn. I'm pretty sure, but
unless they're creating the Sinister Six, which they need the Rhino and Doc Ock and
Rhinoceros, Doc Ock. They need Shocker as well. Like they can bring him in.
But not my boy Kraven the Hunter, bro.
No, I don't know why that pops you.
Well, because he's a great villain, dude.
No, he's great. No, the Kraven's Last Hunt is the best Spider-Man story ever told, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I could see Nicolas Cage playing that role perfectly. You think he's wacky that way, bro?
You know what? Maybe you're right, bro.
But we'll see because now they're gonna do Mysterio as the villain.
Rey Mysterio, bro. Well, he's the villain after what he did to fucking
Pearl Wild Jr.
Jr., bro. Him and Conan. Is Conan gonna be Hydro Man? Because Lord knows he knows about Hydro.
I was gonna say that, dude. All right, what's the next one? Yeah. What else you got to say about
No, that's it. Just a good, fun movie.
Well, let me talk about a couple of things. What did you think about the fact that
there are 6 writers on this movie? Because that's weird.
No, not only that, the fact that Spider-Man doesn't really create his idea, because it's almost like he's being carried by Tony still here.
He is. Yeah.
Like we see the Iron Suit that he wears. The Spider Suit is the Iron Man creation.
The Iron Spider, yeah.
And then a lot of his gifts or superpowers are not even revealed in this movie. Like it's rarely even talked about the shit that Spider-Man could really do. So that's another thing.
They might be saving it for Far From Home. I don't know.
Maybe. I hope so, because there needs to be an evolution there somewhere.
It really is Vulture's movie, bro. Really.
Yes. So in that sense, there is that. So that's pretty much it. Tony offers him to be an Avenger, and he says no. And then this is where Tony officially gets engaged to Pepper, which is going to take us into Infinity War later on.
Yes. Thor Ragnarok. Now, all right.
What a great movie, bro.
I love this movie. Taika Waititi totally changed the Thor movies. 1 and 2 don't even count anymore.
Well, they do count. They didn't destroy the universe.
No. But you know what I mean. Like, what I mean is if you're going to watch a Thor movie, I'm talking about meta. If you're going to watch a Thor movie, this is the one to watch. And what I really mean is not that they destroyed the universe. It's more so that Thor went from being this super serious, stoic hero to, in this movie, it's a clown show. But it's not. I mean, dude, Jeff Goldblum's in this movie, though. I mean, that's.
But it's a very respectful way in which they did it, and they did it.
And Kate Blanchett is fucking hella, bro. Who is?
And she's hot as hell too.
She's hot, bro. And she's young, yeah. And our boy Idris Elba, bro, Alpha as always.
Getting the big payday, but we're gonna get to that.
Tessa Thompson is the lesbian, even though they didn't really reveal it in the movie. They did before. Valkyrie. I like this movie a lot, bro. I love everything with Mark Ruffalo.
Carl Urban, a Scourge.
That's right, Carl Urban and Anthony Hopkins, of course. But no, I really like this movie, bro. I mean, I love it. I love it. Some people have put it as their best MCU movie. I wouldn't
argue that. It's definitely up there.
It's just fun. It's a fun movie, start to finish, bro.
Yes, Taika Waititi, of course, did a classic.
And don't forget Clancy Brown is the fire guy, bro. Surtur. Let's not forget, bro. A lot of our favorites are in this one, bro. We mark out over these actors, bro. But
yeah, because we love them, because nobody appreciates them like we do.
Well, except for filmmakers, they do appreciate them.
I mean, Scott Adkins. I mean, if you know about films, do you know about Scott Adkins?
Undisputed guy, bro.
So no,
that's not one of the Von Erichs, by the way, folks. Just making sure. What about the fact that fucking Matt Damon plays Loki in the movie, bro? What about that?
Yeah, and then the other Hemsworth plays
the one nobody cares about, bro. Even though they all look exactly the same, bro.
So
have you noticed they all look the same?
They do. So that means they are brothers. So Taika Waititi decided, because not only him, but him and Kevin Feige together, that after the disaster that Thor: The Dark World was, they couldn't go back to that kind of storytelling because it didn't work.
Natalie Portman dropped out
because she...
Good riddance.
hit
the bricks, pal.
Are you saying that her and Gallows and Anderson have something in common, bro?
I guess they do, but I mean, at least one of them's pretty.
Yeah, Gallows. I'm glad you said that.
That's not what I'm talking about, but all right. He played a retard once, remember?
That's right, he did.
Yeah.
And by the way, well, I'm not gonna.
And you think he's gonna play it again soon? So he's going. They're going back to New Japan, bro.
He's playing again in real life by letting go of that multi-million-dollar contract that they were offered, according to
maybe Ghetto off. Maybe AEW offered him more, bro.
The T-shirt company, bro.
Tony Khan's got money, bro. Even though I'm sure Double G's gonna demand a lot more from him, but nobody gets these jokes on this show. But keep going. Let's talk about Thor, bro. Why do you love it so much? I love everything about this movie.
No, well, I'm telling you why they changed it, because they needed, they felt like they had to. And it bothers me that you're kind of making it. It doesn't fuck anything up in the continuity, bro, or anything like that. Everything's still in play.
No, I'm not talking about the continuity, bro. You're missing my point. I'm talking about the tone. The tone
is different, and
it's
that's
completely different. It's like a 180 from the last two movies.
Now here's what's interesting. So if we see Infinity War, Age of Ultron, Ragnarok was supposed to be a different thing, and they've had people on the internet do the comparison of the font of Thor Ragnarok. It was supposed to be more of like a Thor 1 and Thor 2 kind of film, but when Waikiki got hired, he changed everything. So somewhere along from Age of Ultron to where he goes to see that vision of Ragnarok and all that, up into this film, a lot of things changed, and some of the things didn't come to fruition. So here, not only is it a Thor movie, in a lot of ways it's also a Hulk movie, because Hulk gets the most character development he's gotten in any of the films, because this is pretty much his film as well, especially in the second and third act, where he finally has the ability to control him 100%. You know what I'm saying? Up until now, that might change later, but up until now he could control him, and also they're able to kind of share the same cognition. You see what I'm saying? So whatever Hulk sees, Bruce Banner now remembers. That's the reason why in Infinity War he knows what he saw, because in this film it's established that Bruce Banner has the ability to have the same mind, whether he's the Hulk or Bruce Banner now, which is good because we've had all these films finally leading us to that moment. And so here, it's a combination. They decided to adapt a little bit of the Planet Hulk storyline, where Hulk goes up into space and he kind of leads this planet that kind of bows down to him or whatever. And yeah, no, the film is great. It connects everything. We find out that in the whole time that Thor was on Earth working with the Avengers, that Loki ended up taking over Asgard. And he ended
up, we saw it in Dark World when he took control of Odin.
Yes, he did. Yeah. So what's been going on is because Thor has been trying to unify the 9 realms again. So for the last 2 years, since Age of Ultron, he's kind of been going through these battles, and then finally he gets to come home and he sees Loki there, as whatever. But yeah, no, this is it's got such great comedy. The Grand Master, bro, he steals this movie in my eyes. He's fucking funny as fuck.
Anything with Jeff Goldblum, bro. It's Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum.
That's right. That you couldn't have said it better, bro. It's Jeff Goldblum.
And remember, he's the brother of Benicio del Toro from Guardians. Now, hopefully, he won't get fucked over and with the Vega Brothers movie like we did, and we'll get a movie with those two together, bro.
That's right.
Because that'll be a great movie.
And his arrogance is amazing, because they never say it in this movie, but I guess he's pretty powerful, the Grand Master.
He is very powerful.
So he doesn't sell nobody, bro. He don't give a shit if you're a god. He don't give a shit if you have powers. He's just going to have a good time. Like, the way they wrote the Grand Master is this guy who just wants to have a good time. He's kind of like in denial of everything, because I guess in his mind he knows that he could fuck everybody up. So what is he going to care, And then, like, Thor doesn't have any powers, because he shoots his little, like, what does he call them, like sparkles? Oh, look, he's got little sparkles there. I like the little sparkles.
He's burying him, bro. I love it.
And the way they depower Thor, because you had to, bro. In order to tell these stories, sometimes you gotta depower these guys, because then there's no story to tell. So his sister, Kate Blanchett's character, she destroys his hammer. What's his name? Mjolnir or whatever, the hammer?
Mjolnir, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing, is that's going to lead into, how he gets a new weapon in Infinity War.
And then one of the big things that we have in this movie is that Odin finally dies of old age. And I guess when you're a god, that's how you die. You just kind of go and you just kind of fade into, eternity.
He's not supposed to die. He's supposed to just go to sleep for a long time. But whatever.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah, it's called the Odin sleep. Now, for real, that's what it's called. It's called the Odin sleep.
I have another name for that I'll tell you off air.
I know what it is, bro. You told me that several times. But here's the thing about here's the thing about the Odin sleep is he's very powerful. He's way more powerful than Thor. The only problem is that he can't use that power because he has to sleep in order to get that power back. You see what I'm saying? He has to charge it. And that's how Odin works in the comics.
So how come Renee Russo couldn't go into that Odin sleep, bro? Because she's a woman?
I guess so, bro. She's not Odin, bro.
So that's a very tender scene too, is because he's right there looking into the ocean, and you know, Loki and Thor, they don't get along, they're rivals, but there's an understanding that their dad's about to go into Odin sleep, so they just kind of see him do it.
Well, they also do the whole thing where he turns a bunch of times in the movies too, bro. Not as much as the Big Show, but he turns a lot in the movie. But at the end of the day, Loki does do the right thing, and really, that all leads to Infinity War.
Right. So, anyways, so that's a cool scene. The scene when they're in the Grandmaster's homeland, which is the bulk of the movie.
They're in the prison and everything.
Yes, and then also the Hulk. He hears the recording of Natasha Romanoff, which is what brings him back to be Bruce Banner. So remember, folks, the Hulk has been the Hulk since he took off in Age of Ultron into space. So he actually came back as Bruce Banner when he heard her voice in the ship. So that thread is still continuing. And so the story here is that they have to escape the Grandmaster's home planet, and then they have to go back and kill Hela. Yeah. Because but in doing all that, Hela destroys Asgard, and you know. That's pretty much the movie.
And it was supposed to happen because Clancy Brown had to come in and finish off Asgard.
Yes. And according to the people that have put all this thread together, that's what allows Thanos to come into an unprotected region and be able to do what he does in Infinity War. That's what they say anyway. I don't know. I think you have to think a lot.
Yeah, but he already had the stone, so he could have busted through that either way, you know.
Well, he got no. Well, he got Sandar's stone a week before this. And that's what Thor says in Infinity War.
Yeah, he got it. That was the first stone he got. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. He's already got a stone.
But had Asgard been, I guess for lack of a better term, erect, had that army still been around, because Asgard is the protector of the 9 realms, they would have been able to intercept him, right? They would have been able to
fight him off, but he might have still won because he had a stone.
Because they had the Valkyries and all that shit. So
what about Korg, bro? That's a funny character, bro.
Yeah, well, Korg got destroyed in Thor Dark World, but then they just retconned that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, bro.
Remember, he gets destroyed when Thor Dark World begins, and then all of a sudden he's just there again. And Korg is actually Taiki Waititi. He does the voice.
Yeah, I actually don't remember him. Are you sure he's in?
Yeah, the Rock Monster. He's the Rock Monster. That was Korg.
Remember him being in that one? Okay. Well.
Yeah, Thor just hits him with the hammer and kills him. But right here we're supposed to forget that. And this probably has my biggest like chill-inducing mid-credit scene, bro.
When Thanos shows up.
Like, talk about a cliffhanger. Like, they're all, because now Asgard has no home, right? And he has all the survivors in that ship, and they're kind of playing back and forth on what Loki's gonna do. Thor, and they're kind of yucking it. And then all of a sudden you see the big ship just kind of show up there. Why? Because fucking Loki and his fucking ass being an asshole, he took the Tesseract with him, and that's where Thanos found it. So now he's gonna go take it. So that's a great ending to that film.
Right. Then we have Black Panther, Academy Award nominated film. Ryan Coogler, great filmmaker. We've talked about him a lot.
Yes.
Great movie. A little bit overrated, maybe.
I think so, but I'm not gonna argue for the people that say that don't, because I feel like that's what I expect out of movies. I just think a little editing could have helped. It's like I've said before, we see 2 fucking kings being crowned with the same exact ceremony in the same movie, bro. It's like, come on.
But I get why they did that. But still, like, the movie was a cultural, phenomenon as well. It really, I don't want to say it brought black people to the movie theater, but people certainly think it did. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But people certainly think it. They're very proud of this film, but it is a good movie. But I've said this before. If the movie sucked, they wouldn't care, but it's a good movie, But it also brought a lot of respect to the African traditions and the African culture. A lot of it was, Ryan Coogler did a lot of research.
And so a lot of people really appreciated that. There was very little stereotypes.
And I love how humble he is when they kept asking him, like, do you think you've made strides? And he's like, well, it was Black Panther was created by Stan Lee, bro. He's always putting over Stan Lee. Like, no, he did it first. I just brought it to a movie.
Yeah, and he's right, because Stan Lee was that kind of person that would do stuff like that.
Now we have, of course, Lupita, who's always good in everything. We've got Martin Freeman.
The worst guy in this movie is Chadwick Boseman, bro. He's the worst one of the. From an actor's perspective.
Yeah, a little bit. Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker, one of our favorites, and of course Michael B. Jordan, who is
this is his show, bro. He really steals a show here.
That's Double G's boy, bro, and it's like one of those things where he's earning his stripes though with every movie. I mean, the dude, every movie that comes out, he knocks it out of the park.
And again, what did we talk about the Vulture and Zemo, bro? This guy had the proper motivation too, because essentially they stole the crown from him. He was the proper heir to the throne.
It's like the Lion King. It's basically the Lion King.
Yeah, you're right. I never even thought about it like that, but you're right.
Yeah, and it's the Lion King.
And it's also very urban, because it does take place in Oakland, California as well. So it's not just this movie that's dealing with Wakanda. It's also dealing with the ramifications of how, like, African Americans get pushed to a certain part of a neighborhood, So it deals with a lot of real life situations as well, and how certain ethnicities get put in this kind of life because they have no other choice, because Whitey kind of puts you there, and so that it deals with a lot of that too, because Killmonger's a very smart guy, but because of the way he was brought up and what he went through, he's kind of guided to a life of crime, and so that's where he's at when we start the movie. So there's a lot of things going on here.
How do you feel about what they did with Claw in this movie?
They did the J.O.B. in the same year, bro. Two movies.
It wasn't in the same year. Civil War was. Oh wait, I see what you mean now. Never mind. Yeah,
kind of. And they were 3 months apart.
Yeah, no, you're right. No. I thought you were talking about Civil War. Civil War was 2 years before this movie came out.
So again, this is the same issue we had with Ragnarok. Before Ryan Coogler came on board, you knew that Ulysses Claw was going to be the main villain because of what they had established in Age of Ultron, to the point where where they give you a loose thread on his family, because he had that picture there in Ultron of a girl or whatever. Who knows what that was? But it was supposed to be an emotionally resonating clue of what's to come with Ulysses Claw. And then once Ryan Coogler got the job, he decided to put Killmonger as the main villain, and Ulysses Claw was kind of an afterthought. And I think it was done for impact. I think because Ulysses Claw dies in the middle of the film, and he dies because Killmonger kills him. So that tells you that he's the one that wants to be the main guy. So essentially it's the same trick that Rian Johnson tried to use, but it worked better here. And I think it worked better here, to be fair, because we hadn't, the equity in Ulysses Claw is not the same as Snoke, bro. Snoke was this guy that was booked or promoted to be this big deal, and obviously at the end he wasn't.
Even by Andy Serkis himself.
Whereas Ulysses was kind of a guy that, yeah, we saw in Ultron and we had heard the rumors, but there wasn't really much invested in him before this movie. So those two, if they were done for shock value or to get the main villain over, that's how you do it in this film, because Ryan Coogler didn't sacrifice as much, whereas, fucking Rian Johnson damn near destroyed an entire fucking franchise doing shit like that. Not just that, but other things in that movie. Yeah. So I really like this film. I thought that the ending scene was really good. The fight scene between Killmonger and Black Panther was great.
The two Panthers, basically.
Yes, I thought the way that Killmonger destroyed the
and
flower.
I love how he refuses to get healed, bro. He's like, no, I'd rather die than be locked up.
That's very I guess you could say like a Japanese kind of samurai honorable thing to do.
Honorable thing, yeah.
And so, he even kills Claw to kind of like, because Claw's fucking around with the Wakandans, right? So Killmonger kills him so he could take his body to Wakanda and say, look at what I did, because I'm the king. And so I really enjoyed the last third act of this film. And all in all, even though I think it's a tad overrated, I think it's a tad long, this film is not bad in any way, shape, or form. It's actually a very, very good movie. Agreed. So I give it a thumbs up.
And it's very powerful too, because like with what they did with Ego and Star-Lord, here we have T'Challa, going through these flashbacks and trying to figure out how he can be a great king. And that's kind of, again, it's very similar to the scene in Lion King where Simba sees Mufasa in the heavens. It's a very similar idea here.
And also it introduces us to Wakanda, which goes all the way back to I guess you could say
Age of Ultron.
no, when they found the vibranium for
That's
Captain
right.
America.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Which at the time we thought it was just a little sample, but it turns out there's a whole fucking continent full of
And
this
I
shit.
love how the whole freaking country of Wakanda is hidden under this cloak of being a forest when it's actually super technological. I love that touch, bro.
And so yeah, no, I really. And then let's talk a little bit about Bucky Barnes because he comes back as the White Wolf here.
Only for a second, but yeah.
Yeah, because the last time we saw him, he got Civil War. Yeah, because he said his mind wasn't right yet, so he had to get pro. It doesn't really make sense, but fuck it.
I mean,
he freezes himself because quote his mind ain't right yet.
He was probably scared he was gonna Manchurian candidate somebody else, bro. Is what I'm thinking. That's my guess, bro.
And then at the end, they essentially Black Panther T'Challa kind of reveals to the world that there's Wakanda and it exists. Yeah. And I always thought that was gonna play into a big deal in Infinity War because I thought that tech was gonna allow the world to fight together, but that ended up not being a big deal after all. So even though they fought in their country, in their homeland, I thought it was mostly like to empower the world to fight back. And as Thanos was gonna take over, the world was ready for him, but that never really played into it. So I thought that was gonna happen, but I never really did. So anyways, that's Black Panther.
Avengers Infinity War. I mean, where do we start?
Oh shit. This is my second favorite movie of the MCU, bro.
Hey, it's also my second favorite.
And it was my favorite movie of last year. Out of all the fucking great artsy-fartsy films I saw, a lot of them left me very impactful. A lot of them, some of them made me cry. This is the best one because, you know what? I try to think of how I was feeling when I was watching this film. And when you have those goosebumps as a 37-year-old man at the time, you have these goosebumps like a little kid. And as you're watching the film, you're getting more and more excited. And it's almost like I didn't want it to end, bro. You know, you're marking out and you're a fan when you don't want something to end, bro. And you're looking at it and everything's so perfect and everything's perfect, bro. This film is fucking just a great fucking film. And repeated viewing is not so much so, but it's still a great film, bro. I mean, just.
No, I disagree. I still like the movie a lot, even if we're in repeated viewings.
I thought it slows down with the Thanos scenes a little bit, but you had to because this was his movie.
Yeah, it was a movie focused on him.
Let's talk about how this is Thanos' movie, bro.
Yes. Well, it is. I mean, it's a very unique perspective because the movie is structured in a way where it's basically little vignettes. Like you've got the Tony Iron Man, the Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain or Doctor Strange storyline. Then you've got like the Captain America and Bucky and the Wakandans. Then you've got like Vision and Wanda over here, and like there's little vignettes that get organized, and Thanos is like stringing them all together. And I thought that was very well done. They bring in Obsidian, Ebony Maw, all the Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive, who are all NXT guys.
These could have all headlined their own movies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, in some ways, they are the children of Thanos, bro. And we have, of course, the opening scene where Thanos straight up just pounds fucking.
I love that scene, bro. Fuck,
he fights him with real like fighting skills.
Yeah, he was taking fucking lessons from Cain Velasquez.
No, I don't know about that, bro.
Oh, who's a good pugilist in MMA? Like Quentin Jackson was a pretty good pugilist. You know those guys. You know what a pugilist is, bro. I don't have to school you on that, right?
I don't think I know what that is, bro.
A pugilist is a guy that's good with the fisticuffs. No kicks, just a good fisticuffs guy.
Oh. Yeah. Well, yeah, like yeah.
So boxers are pugilists.
Like I mean, yeah, you go Butch from Pulp Fiction, bro.
No, he's a palooka.
Mm-hmm. I'm not your friend, Palooka.
No reason for him to give him that kind of heat, bro. No reason whatsoever. Why? What an asshole Vincent Vega was.
No, and then he wound up getting killed as a result, so he paid for it. He paid. So, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Everything about this movie, the park scene, the Captain America's return, when they fight in that like alley.
No, but let me say this. I really enjoy the editing of this picture. Not so much like some scenes, but like how they got everybody to be involved in this fight, because there is no fucking fat in the first hour of this movie, bro. Everything's trimmed perfectly, like to get everybody involved. Like there is no like establishing dialogue or establishing characters. You know why? Because there's been fucking 20 other movies that have already done that. So as soon as the movie starts,
you're supposed to know who they are.
Boom, we're right into it. Like it picks up right after Thor Ragnarok up in space. And what I love about it was fucking it starts so dark. I got goosebumps right out of the bat, bro, because it starts so dark. It doesn't start with your usual. It starts with the Asgardian calling for help, and he's so like helpless. And that, by the way, that's Kenneth Branagh. They give him a payday to come back as a tribute, and he's the one that's calling for help at the beginning of the movie. So he's the first voice you hear. And he's like, "We're an Asgardian ship. We are not meant to fight." And he's calling out for help. And who gets that reception? The Guardians do. That's how they find them later on, because they're the ones that pick up on the call for help. So yeah, Thanos is right there. He fucks up the Hulk big time, bro. He just makes him his bitch. And how do you get Doctor Strange involved? Well, because
he lands in the simulacrum or whatever the hell it's called.
But Heimlich throws him there, which is alpha, bro, because he sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
Heimdall uses the dark magic.
In the comics, it was supposed to be Silver Surfer in that, but it wound up being Hulk in the movie. So.
Brother, Heimdall uses he summons the dark magic one last time, bro, and he throws them in there.
I heard what you said, bro. I know where you're going.
But that pops me because that's big. Because the only way you could create the Bifrost is if you use the dark magic. Because when the Bifrost is destroyed, that's and you can only use the dark magic. I think there's some big repercussions every time you use it. So for him to do it, he did it one last time, and then Thanos kills him for being a fucking asshole, and fucking Idris Elba got a quick payday out of it, which who could blame him? And of course we have
and we have Loki dying too.
Loki dies, and he dies a hero. One of the best scenes of that movie, bro, is when he's going through all his credentials. And he says, "I'm Odin's son," and he looks at Thor, and that's the revelation that now he finally sees the error of his ways, and then he gets killed. Very, very good writing. And then they go right into Pepper and fuck, this is great.
And I feel like if Endgame is a good movie, it'll make this one better. You know what I mean? Because then all the stuff that was kind of teased here, like Pepper and Tony's relationship, is going to pay off in that film, hopefully. You know.
But it's all these decisions by these characters that really built the plot.
Yep.
Because,
especially Star-Lord.
Yes, because Spider-Man is coming back from a trip that we don't know about, and he that's where he gets the spider sense, and he goes off to fight. So again, everybody goes into this fight very organically. There's nobody that's there and it's like, oh, I'm gonna fight because I have nothing to do other than the script calls for it. Everybody gets attracted to the fight via the storyline they're trying to tell, which is, again, this is very good writing.
What about how they depowered Vision, bro?
They made him a bitch. But I will say this.
But they did raise the power of Scarlet Witch, dog, because she there's that one scene where she freaking kicks ass.
But at the same time, Vision they did kind of write themselves into a good excuse because he was injured right off the hop. He got blindsided and he was injured right off the hop with that. You know, he was bleeding yellow and shit. I don't know if why he bleeds or not, but isn't the thing that we're trying to get is that he's becoming human little by little? Is that what they're trying to tell us?
I think so, yeah. I mean, that would make sense. You know, he's got the Love Jones for Brie Olsen or whatever, you know, whatever her name is.
Looking at, you know, I would too. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, also, let's not forget about the impact that Thor has on Rocket, how he talks about how he lost his family.
That's my favorite scene in the movie, bro. That's Chris Hemsworth fucking trying to win an Oscar right there.
And then Rocket loses his family at the end of the film and doesn't realize how much he loves them until they're gone. You know, because all the Guardians die except for him, and even Groot dies. And it's a great, and man, that the ending of the movie's brilliant. The snap and the good guys lose. And I remember being in that movie theater, bro. I guess the marks didn't realize it was part 1 of 2. Because when they showed those credits, bro, it was like, what? Like, people couldn't believe it. But when they have Sam Jackson at the very, very end, and then you see the Captain Marvel symbol and it goes, dun, dun. People popped for that, bro. People knew who she was.
Of course. And no, yeah. When Thor's in denial and he's trying to pep himself up, fuck, I love that scene. I could see that scene over and over.
What about our boy fucking the midget giant, bro?
Yeah, yeah. Peter, whatever.
Peter Dinklage, yeah,
Dinklage,
from
yeah.
from Game of Thrones and from Days of Futures Past, bro, the 5-star movie. He was great in that movie, though.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, if the sun hits you, you will die. I will what? You will die.
I
That
love I love how Thor pretty much eats a direct blast from the sun, bro. What a powerful character, bro.
What about the pop when he shows up in Wakanda, dude?
That's the best scene of the movie, bro.
Yeah.
When
With
the
the
lightning fucking goes around,
yeah, that was awesome.
and he shows up and he has lightning all over him. It was a Dragon Ball. It was like a Dragon Ball comeback, bro. That's how they are in that show. Dun 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 dun, and then Bruce Banner's like, "You guys are screwed now." Then they have the freaking back and forth. You stole my beard to Cap and everything. Like that's good stuff, bro. And then
I want that arm.
I want that arm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They work together. There's a lot of awesome.
And then seeing Rocket on Earth, bro. Seeing a fucking CGI'd Rocket on Earth, which we hadn't seen before, that was wacky too.
That was wacky, and also
and we're gonna get a
what's
whole
your name?
that.
Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our gimmick names then or whatever. I'm Spider-Man.
I'm Spider-Man. What was the name of the heel that got? What was his name again? The badass one.
Which one? Thanos? Who are we talking about?
No, his lieutenant.
Well, there's 4 of them.
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw is the one that fucks with Doctor Strange. Ebony Maw knows a lot of the same kind of techniques that he knows. That's kind of like his rival.
But it was cool because he had a creepy ass voice, bro. Whenever they would execute
he looks like fucking Voldemort.
But it was like, rejoice, you will all be. That was fucking awesome, bro. Fucking creepy.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's a great character, bro.
And then what about the fact when Thanos finds out that he lost his crew, bro? When he's in Titan, we all had casualties tonight. That was awesome, dude. Because when he shows up to Titan and he sees that the Avengers are there, he realizes that all his crew's gone. And then he's like, I guess Maul's dead. And then they're like, yeah. And then it's like, we all had casualties tonight. And so that was pretty cool, dude. Thanos really got over with me. He's got probably some of the best dialogue in that movie.
What do you think about his motivations, though? A little stupid, to be honest with you.
Yeah, once they decided it wasn't gonna be about Lady Death, they had to kind of write his new motivations, and that was it wasn't the best.
No, it wasn't the best. That's the one flaw I think of the movies. That his motivations don't make any sense.
No, and then like I've told you before, I feel like Captain America was completely invisible. He didn't do. He had like 3 lines in the entire movie, bro. He was just in the background the whole time for being such a big character. But I guess in the next one they're gonna make do for that. No, but yeah, other than that, I really don't have much to say negative about this film.
Did you go into this movie spoiler free?
Yeah.
Did you think they were gonna take out Black Panther and Spider-Man? I didn't think they were gonna be the ones to get snapped. I thought it was gonna be other people, not them.
No, but they worked me with Tony Stark though.
Oh yeah, because they make you think he's getting snapped.
No, he's getting killed when he fights Thanos.
Oh yeah, a couple times. I love how he uses that nanotech and he uses all the Avengers weapons. He has the shield, he uses the hammer, and he's doing the best he can, but Thanos is too much. And I love that whole scene on Titan when he throws the moon at him, when they all have that team up where Spider-Man's teleporting thanks to Doctor Strange's powers. Yeah. No, dude. And I keep saying Dragon Ball, but the scene where Doctor Strange fights Thanos and like all that wacky shit happens with like the birds and everything, that's total Dragon Ball
bro,
like, anime shit,
Doctor Strange throws everything at this guy, bro. He even turns into 1,000 Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I know, that's a Dragon Ball move. He fucking cloned himself and it still wasn't enough, bro. He's fighting the reality stone. Or what about the scene where he uses that one stone to make Quill think that freaking Gamora's dead and all that, or whatever it was?
Oh yeah, that's in Nowhere. That's when our boy Benicio gets a payday for being there for 2 seconds.
That's okay, bro. He deserves it.
Now, what about when Thanos finally reveals how Nowhere is destroyed, and then the Collector's in the cage marking out, bro. I don't know if I was Benicio or that was the direction from the directors, but that popped me. Like he's cheering for Thanos, bro. But that tells me a couple things. Either Thanos, this is wacky, bro. I love this shit. In Thanos' reality manipulation, he made the fake Collector cheer him on. Or that's the real Collector cheering him on. It can't be the real Collector.
I thought it was the fake one. Yeah,
but he's right there happy, bro, in the cage.
I'm pretty sure Collector's dead, bro.
I hope not. We need a movie.
No, I mean for now. I mean everybody comes back in the next one probably, but
yeah.
What do you think? Now, one of the things that did kind of bother me was the fact that, and it was all done for effect, was the fact that, because they did depower Thanos in the movie from the comics and the Infinity Stones, because there's no way that axe that Thor had could fuck with Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. You just can't. Like, the Infinity Gauntlet is way beyond that hammer, but I guess, the axe, but I guess they did it for effect.
But also, he didn't fuck with him. He didn't kill him. He just kind of slowed him down.
No, but remember, he threw the axe, and Thanos fired a beam from the gauntlet, and the axe went through the beam. That would never happen in the comics. That would never happen in the comics. The Infinity Gauntlet's way too powerful. Yeah, and then he says you should have gone for the head. And that was a great scene, too. I mean, that was done for effect. Because it's like, damn, I almost had him, and I didn't go for the head.
And he teleported like a coward, bro. Because he was hurt.
Well, he won, bro.
Well, he won, but he was walking like Steve Austin was after doing practice stunners, bro, in the ring.
He broke his ass? Yeah,
it was a very, very, very well crafted movie. You know, I nitpick it a little bit, but what are you gonna do, bro? The Russo brothers had the world stacked against them, and they fucking delivered. They delivered. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, they did.
A couple other things before we move on to Ant-Man and the Wasp. The Guardians is very, very clear to me that they need James Gunn as the writer, because I thought they were very, very pushed for as big as they were. I thought Peter Quill's character wasn't as.
But I remember hearing that he was on set.
He
helped write their lines.
Yeah, but I don't know. There was something awful, but it's almost like their characters wasn't as captivating. Maybe because they were being surrounded by all the other Avengers, but I just felt like they were kind of like third string kind of heroes in this one, and they really shouldn't be, because that's not really what they've been promoted as. But I don't know. That's probably just me. And also, let's talk a little bit about the trailer, bro, and how many misdirections it had.
Yeah, we saw Hulk in there, and he wasn't there.
And he'll never be there, because that scene ain't gonna be repeated. And we saw Tony Stark taking his glasses off in the streets, and it was actually when the suit's building. But in the trailer, he's wearing street clothes, taking his glasses off. There was a lot of little things like that never made the final cut. We saw Spider-Man hang gliding on the on one of the ships, on Ebony Maw's ship, which it wasn't in the movie either. So
that might have just been a time constraint edit, though.
Yeah. No, yeah, because we saw that scene going into the motion of it, but we never saw the actual extended cut that's in the trailer. Yeah. So it was definitely there, but it was cut from the movie, and I'm cool with that. See, those kind of cuts are cool, because if you have the cuts, might as well use them. What I don't like is when they straight out lie, like when the TIE Fighter in Rogue One.
Oh yeah, well remember they reshot that whole movie pretty much, at least the last half of it.
But I know a lot of people, including myself, were looking forward to that scene, because that's like kind of an impactful scene,
right?
And you're wondering how she's gonna get out of that, and it's never even in the movie or even close.
There's also where she's running away in the swamp, and there's the AT-AT shooting right at her, bro. They cut that out as well.
Yes.
So is this the most successful movie of all time?
I don't think of all time, but it's I think number 2 or 3.
Okay, let me look here. It's the first superhero film to gross over $2 billion, the highest grossing film of the year. But I'm trying to see where it ranks.
Is it because we had James Cameron cutting promos on this film, right?
Of course, he wanted to bear. Remember George Lucas.
He lost his mind, bro.
George Lucas cut promos on Titanic, so it's like history repeats itself. Okay, so right now it's Avatar and Titanic at 1 and 2, Force Awakens at 3, Infinity War at 4.
Yeah, I would say 3 of those 4 movies are great.
I would agree with you. Yeah, Avatar is the one that's not that great. That's a gimmick movie, bro.
Yeah, but he created a whole other industry, because before that there was really no 3D in the cinemas anymore, and now everything
in the 80s.
Yeah.
All right, so Ant-Man the Wasp. I already did a whole podcast about this. I was actually, I think, episode 3 of the Geek 101 podcast. So I've already spoken a lot. I'm gonna let you kind of take the floor here. I really like this movie, and it angers me that the movie doesn't get as much love as it should. I really enjoyed this film, and I am upset that others decided to skip it, because Ant-Man never gets the love he deserves. I love this movie. It was very creative, very heartwarming. I can relate to the family aspect, not just with Paul Rudd's character, but also with the Wasp's family. And there's just so many great things in this movie. Larry Fishburne's here. There's just the only thing that sucks about this movie is that I felt like Ghost was kind of pointless. She was shoehorned in there as a villain, not the best villain, I don't think. A little bit of whatever. It wasn't written that well. But
and also her motivation at the end is kind of like because she's mad, and she gets recruited by Larry Fishburne's character, and he kind of has like a mid-movie turn.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to love about this movie. First of
I
all,
love this movie.
this movie again a consequence of Civil War. So Scott Lang and Hawkeye are both under house arrest after breaking out of that prison at the end of Civil War. So that's why they're not in Infinity War. The real reason was because they were filming this movie right next to Infinity War Part 1, so it would have been impossible for Scott Lang.
They wanted him to keep him out because he's going to be a big role in Endgame, so they had to keep him out of Infinity War.
And this movie, what it really does, if you want to take anything from this movie, is that it really explains the quantum realm. It like really, really explains.
And they had to because of what's going to happen in Endgame.
Yeah. Yes. They talk about the quantum entanglement and all that shit. So that's really what I took out of it. But it's a good film. It brings the crew back, like Luis and the TI character and the Russian guy.
The truth serum was great. Oh, we let's not forget about our boy, bro. How can we do this without putting over our boy Walton Goggins, bro?
Oh, yeah, Walton Goggins.
He's up there, bro. Sonny Birch, bro.
I want to see him interact with Justin Hammer, bro. I'll pay money to see that.
Don't tease me, bro. I want to see him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is he in the movie or no?
I think he is. You know, they all are, bro.
I hope so, bro. I hope Harvey Keitel makes a cameo in that one. We need him to come back.
So I enjoy this movie. It really explains more about the pink particle and how you could use it in everything. They have a great scene in San Francisco where the cars are going small and big. They go back to the same thing they did in Part 1, where they're using the tech to kind of put visual gags on the screen, which is always a plus. So it's a pretty good movie.
I love how in this movie they have another car chase scene, which we're getting really played out because all the comic book movies have it. And yet, like, it's so creative here. They get big, they get small. I love it. What a great movie.
And again, it goes back to the arc of Scott Lang, where like no matter what, he always gets himself into shit. Had he fucking not done what he did in Civil War, he would have had his family there. But he fucked himself up, and being a mark for Captain America, and then he got in trouble again, and there he is in house arrest with the fucking ants.
With the ants, bro, which were a treat.
One of the interesting things about this film that it introduces quantum entanglement, which they actually have Scott Lang interacting with Janet, who happens to be stuck in the quantum realm. So I don't know if that's gonna be part of Endgame or not. Whereas you could have people communicating with each other that are quantum entangled. But they might save that for later Ant-Man films, not so much for Endgame. But who knows? And so that's pretty much it. It's pretty much another chase movie where there's people going after Scott Lang.
It's a clever film, though. It's very clever, and that's why I love the film a lot.
And also Hank Pym and Hope are pissed off at Scott because when he got busted in Civil War, he also brought attention to them. So they're all on the run, not just him. And so that's another layer to the hijinks. Whereas they got many people after them. So it's a good movie, and I think what's memorable about this film is that the post credit scene or the mid credit scene.
Yeah, the mid credit scene is the vanishing of everybody but Scott Lang, and Scott Lang is trapped inside of the quantum realm. So presumably in the first 5 minutes or so, maybe of Endgame or early in the film, we're going to see him come out of it and wonder what the hell happened to the world.
The big question is who gets him out. That's my biggest question. Somebody has to find him. Maybe he gets himself out. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm guessing he gets himself out, but we know for a fact that this is not really a spoiler. It's been talked about. His daughter is older in the film, so obviously when he gets out, it's at some point in the future. So, because remember, they said that time is irrelevant in the quantum realm, so they're probably going to use that to go through time. But it's still one of those things where he's going to come out and his whole world has changed.
Well, in the trailer, they show him going to his house. And it's all, it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of scene where everything's fucked up. And he sees the wanted posters because people are missing. Because, again, he comes back to a world that's half gone. People are got taken out by Thanos' nap. So that's very interesting. How he finds the Avengers, I don't know. Maybe he wonders the only place he could get answers is if he tracks them down. And, of course, we know that he knows where they're at because he went to the Avenger thing in Ant-Man. Yeah, he went there in Part 1 and he had that little scuffle with the Falcon. That's right. So it's interesting, and that's where this one ends. And one of the things, let me go back and see all of them. One of the things that Phase 3 did, I mean, you were talking about this. This is the one where a lot of these films are stacked on top of each other.
Which that's how it is in the comics, so it makes sense.
So okay, so we have Civil War. So Spider-Man takes place after Civil War.
Okay,
Black
we
Panther,
didn't even talk about that. We didn't talk about that. Spider-Man is all fucked up. They fucked up the timeline because they said it was 10 years after New York, but New York was in 2012.
8 years. 8 years. It's 8 years.
I could have sworn they said 10.
It still doesn't make sense. It still puts the Battle of New York in 2010 instead of 2012.
Yeah, that's wrong.
And the reason why they did that is because Spider-Man had to be in high school still. I don't know. That was the reason.
The reason was because they tried to retcon it. Remember the little boy in Iron Man 2? I think it was the little boy in Iron Man 2 was with the Iron Man mask. That's supposed to be Peter Parker, bro.
Yes.
That's a bad retcon and a pointless one at that.
But still, we know that Spider-Man Homecoming, once it comes to present day, it's after Civil War because of the fact that he's seen the video camera that he took
it is after Civil War, but it still ruined the timeline.
In the beginning, yeah, when the Vulture got his suit. Yeah. Because there's that, and then there's a time jump to present day.
Yes.
In the airport, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, so Spider-Man sees the video in the airport, so we know that one's taking place right after. Black Panther's taking place at the same time as Spider-Man because he comes back to Wakanda to be crowned the king right after Civil War.
Yep.
And then Ant-Man and the Wasp is taking place right before and even a little bit during Infinity War.
Yeah, and Thor Ragnarok is right before Infinity War.
Yes, perfect. So they're kind of stacked up on top of each other. The only one that's kind of like not really shown a date is Doctor Strange. That one might be before Civil War. But people have conflicting reports on that because in the Winter Soldier, they talk about how they
mention Stephen Strange, which again is weird.
Hydra has that technology that they're trying to keep from Captain America, where they could tell who's gonna be like a hero later on, so they could go and kill them. That's the whole point of that technology. And they mentioned Stephen Strange, which they kind of fucked everything up right there. But also we could assume that Doctor Strange takes place way before any of these films because it doesn't really have a timeline. You know what I'm saying? So that it's kind of an evergreen kind of film. So you never know. Or maybe they just fucked up. Who knows?
Captain Marvel. Now, I've done my reviews on this on World of Geekdom. I haven't asked you your thoughts on this movie at all. So again, I guess you can take the floor here. Again, I've said it before. I like the movie. Don't love the movie. I think Brie Larson is very boring and one-dimensional as Carol Danvers, and she's next to she has no presence. Whereas we have Ben Mendelsohn and Sam Jackson. Oh, we love those guys. And Sam Jackson, and Jude Law, who have a lot of presence. So we're dealing with a situation here where, and Clark Gregg, who got the biggest pop in the movie theater. She's just, I don't know.
Lee Pace is a good actor too, but he didn't do nothing in this film.
She's been good in other movies. Brie Larson just, I don't know, it didn't really connect here, bro. What do you think about Captain Marvel?
I enjoyed it, but it's not one of my favorites. I thought this was the most corporate looking of all the films. I thought this is the one because one of the things that we've always talked about these films is that they all have a lot of heart. A lot of the production team really, really, really loves the material they're working with, and they put their heart and soul into every single one of the films that they make. And you could see that. You could always tell when the production crew enjoys making a movie. It just comes out. It resonates through the screen. And this is one of those films that I thought it was just one of those films movie. Yeah, exactly. Like a suit came up with all the themes, and they just said, "Go make it." You know, we have that a lot in Hollywood, but Marvel has kind of stayed away from that. Well, I mean, you see that in Thor: Dark World, but we know that was kind of a production nightmare anyway. So
it's a feminist movie, but it doesn't really hammer down that girls are better than guys. It doesn't really do that at all. But that one scene where they play just a girl, bro, I thought was cheesy, my opinion. I popped that 9 Inch Nails shirt. That takes me back.
Well, the whole thing was a big nostalgia for the 90s.
Yeah, but it wasn't as nostalgic as I was hoping it would be.
Well, the soundtrack's good, though, because it was very rock influence.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And you're more of a hip-hop guy, so I don't think it resonated with you.
No, it did. It did, because I was all over Trent Reznor and,
No doubt. But you didn't like that part.
I thought it was cheesy. It was like obvious pandering. You know what I mean?
Yes. So this is a prequel to a lot of them.
Except it ain't as good as Don John. No.
So a couple of things I didn't like about this film is Captain Marvel's arc. She doesn't really have an arc. She's just kind of like one minute she's human, the next minute she's kind of a
What do you
Kree.
think
And
about the double turn in the middle of the film, though? That was kind of cool.
with who?
The double turn with the Kree and the Skrulls. Remember, you're supposed to think that
Oh yeah,
these
yeah, yeah,
guys
yeah, yeah.
had double
Okay.
turned them. Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was thinking, wait a minute, because the Krees were villains in Guardians. That was the first thing that came into my mind. So that didn't really make sense to me. So I'm thinking, what happens somewhere along the line where they become good guys or bad guys? But then later on, it's revealed that the Skrulls were kind of good guys the whole time.
Yeah.
But a couple of things that I didn't like was how they were flaunting the Shield name around. And again, it's like in Iron Man 1, they're trying to come up with a shorter version of that name. So they don't really have the Shield name yet. But I'm going to let that one go. Fuck it. Even though Coulson's entire comedy routine is trying to come up with a shorter name for Shield with Pepper in Iron Man Part 1.
Right.
But also the one I texted you immediately about was the Tesseract. That really bothered me because, of course, Howard Stark found the Tesseract when he found Captain America, so he had it. But then I guess in the 20 years since then, somehow Marvel ended up with it.
Yeah, he may have just given it to her at some point.
And that's pretty cool, too, because in thinking about it, I thought, okay, well, yeah, because she had to come to Earth and get it.
Yep.
So had this fucking Tesseract been anywhere else except Earth, that really would have pissed me off, bro, because now you really have to explain how it got away from S.H.I.E.L.D., then it came back to S.H.I.E.L.D. to strain out the continuity. But no, like you said, it was like maybe she came to Earth and she was a good guy, as we found out. So yes, no, so that's probably how she got it, he gave it to her, and then we see from the events of this film how they got it back. So it was cool. I didn't have a problem with that once I thought about it, and it kind of did make sense. And like we said, there's a 20-year gap, so a lot of things could happen in 20 years.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you about something a little bit controversial. So the movie's getting a lot of shit because Brie Larson made those comments about white men and this and that. And I made a whole video about, like, who gives a shit. Like, I never cared what an actor said. She's an idiot for saying that. She should have never said that. I'm just saying that, people took this, like, so personally. Like, oh, I'm not gonna support the film because of this. Do you ever let actors' statements ruin? I don't. Because remember, she's one of many people that worked in this movie. And I don't think that the cast and the crew should be penalized of her being an idiot in public.
Well, it depends because Roseanne Barr did say some dumb shit about, kind of.
I'm asking you if it affects you.
No, not really. But it does upset me when they said something very bad, and I do feel like boycotting a show or a movie. But I don't think I would.
I don't think I would either because, like I said, there's other people who worked on it, and they don't deserve to, like, feel your wrath.
No, you're right about that. I agree with you 100% on that. I mean, there's so many people that worked on here, and it's not their fault. They can't control what she goes around saying. So, if anything, it's going to cost her jobs later on, which is her own fault. But for this movie, I mean, nobody should penalize the movie. And it still made a fucking shitload of money, though.
Yeah. No, it did. It made a lot of money, so it didn't do anything. So, I didn't hate the movie. It just wasn't as enjoyable as other MCU films. It had nothing to do with Captain Marvel as a character.
She's very generic to me.
She's very generic, and that's the thing is that the rumor is that she's going to be replacing Cap in Phase 4 as leader of the Avengers. I don't know if I like that, man. I don't think she's... I mean, she's got the power, right? Obviously. But can she really carry that team? I don't know, man.
Well, that team ain't going to have... I mean, according to the scuttlebutt, they ain't going to have Captain America and they ain't going to have Tony Stark. So who's left that's going to have that charisma?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Tommy Holland?
I don't think so, bro. Like, let's be real here. Like, again, Brie Larson, she was the worst part of the movie, if you ask me. I thought that the comedy was fine. I thought that the stuff they did with Sam Jackson was fine. Honestly, I think they screwed up with, and I said this before, with Ronan. They teased the fight that never happened. I was hoping she would fight Ronan and it never happened. So that kind of pissed me off. The finale was just very, like, it kind of sucked, bro. Like, they tased the fight with her and Jude Law, and so they just didn't even do anything. It was like, oh, she blew up the missiles, and that was it. I don't know, bro. It was just
and
big
she sent
letdown.
Them, did you know that they were gonna do a scene where Jude Law ends up in the Game Master's planet?
See, that would have been awesome.
That was but they scratched it. They decided to go with the teaser to Endgame instead.
Yeah, well, that's okay too. But I mean, you know, in the cat that pukes up the Tesseract or whatever. What do you think about him looking at the plane saying, "Oh, Carol, Avengers," and then changing that was
No, that's
contrived.
what I'm saying. That was very fan servicey. The
Yeah,
Avengers Initiative, like it was supposed to be the security initiative or something, right?
yeah, it was like another initiative. I forget what it was. Yeah, and then he called it the Avengers Initiative. Okay, they're really putting her over, bro. They're putting the rocket on her ass, bro.
Well, they have a lot of plans for her.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't think she can carry that team, brother.
We'll see. We'll see. We don't know yet. Remember, the X-Men are on their way, so maybe she wouldn't have to carry them for long.
That's true, bro. If we have James McAvoy coming in there as one of the leaders, bro, that's gonna be awesome. Anything with James McAvoy in it's gonna get my money, bro.
If Hugh Jackman is down to eat 3 chickens a day for the next 10 years, then he could be the leader of the Avengers, bro.
Hey, go for it, bro. Even better, your boy Cyclops, bro. One of our favorites. Scott, what's the last name? Marsden?
No, Scott Summers. Oh, you're talking about
The actor, bro.
Well, they've had a few Cyclops. He's not the only one now.
No,
They've
I'm
had
talking about the one that Bryan Singer is in love with or whatever. What's his name?
Scott Marsden, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm talking about the right guy.
Another
no,
alpha-
James Marsden. Is it James Marsden?
Yeah, James Marsden.
Yeah.
The beta in the Notebook.
That's
But he
right.
was really out.
No, he wasn't beta. Remember, one thing I love about the Notebook is he was not a bad guy. He was a good dude. She just wasn't. That chick wasn't for him.
And we've all been there. Let's be real about it. We've all been there on that one. And you just got to accept it and move on.
Yep.
A beta doesn't accept that and he keeps on trying. An alpha just says, yeah, you're right, and moves on. And he did do that, so you're right. He is an alpha.
No, he is, and he was not a bad guy at all. The chick chose, another alpha, bro, Ryan Gosling.
The thing about Cyclops is that I don't even know a lot about comics, but I know this much because I grew up with Cyclops in the 80s. He got a big push in the comics, and I don't think any of the movies have ever done him justice as how awesome he is of a character.
No, they haven't, because they haven't told the Jean Grey storyline, which maybe they'll do it this summer with Dark Phoenix, which does not look to be that great.
Bro, that film is being buried by their own actors.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. It just
mess.
looks like a letdown.
It's a complete mess.
Well, that's bad when the actors... Didn't the Fantastic Four movie get buried by the actors too, bro? And the director? Didn't Josh Trank say, fuck it, this is not what I was going to make or something like that? I remember that whole thing.
Yeah, he hasn't worked since, so they blackballed his ass.
They blackballed him, yeah, bro. They pulled what Vince Senior did to Bruno.
So that's where we're at, brother. That's where we're at right now. So we got Endgame coming up and Far From Home are the only two that have been announced.
Yep, they are going to hold off on the announcement until after Endgame comes out. I do expect us to get the Phase 4 announcement later on this summer.
I think after Endgame, they're going to release it.
Well, I think it'll be in July at San Diego Comic-Con. That's my prediction. That's what they do at the big conventions, you know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking.
Did you see the Japanese poster of Endgame, bro? I loved it.
I love it. The foreign posters are so much better, bro. Same thing with the Russian one that shows them in the quantum realm.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Well, that's a spoiler right there. They fucked up there. But
like the quantum realm's in the background, like the colors, the red colors, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, they have the suits, so I mean that's not really a spoiler.
I mean, you can figure out what's gonna happen. But they're gonna go through time and make changes. It's obvious, which is funny because Deadpool kind of made fun of that in Deadpool 2.
And that's the reason why they could never tell this because isn't he a big part of Infinity Gauntlet?
Deadpool?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Not the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline.
Oh, okay.
He came way later.
So before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about. Because this is, again, we put it over in the first episode. To me, this is a huge cinematic achievement. I'm very happy I was around for it as a cinephile, and I'm just very, very excited for Endgame. So, but
did you ever think it was going to be this big, bro? I mean, I knew it would be big, but I never thought they'd have this many movies.
I didn't think I was going to be as invested because I'm not this type of guy. I mean, you know me. I don't really mark out for this nerd shit. But here I am, bro. I'm very, very, very invested. I mean, right. I might not be able to hold it together in the theater. I'll be honest with you.
That's okay.
And I'm gonna take my brother, so I have to because I gotta show him that men don't cry.
Yeah. Well, did you hear that this is going to be called the Infinity Saga? That's going to be the name of the first 3 phases, the Infinity Saga. So
that's
Phase
good.
4 is going to be a brand new saga, bro. New heel,
new overarching heel, and then you have the little heels as the movies go on.
If they bring in the X-Men and Fantastic Four, you get a whole new group of heroes.
Yes, but so this to me, this entire saga is almost perfect, but they still have to hit the landing. All right. So let
You're
me tell
saying
you a little.
Endgame might suck, which I hope
Yes,
not, but the Russos have a really good track record.
but let me tell you some of the motifs they're using that concerns me. First of all, they're using time travel. I hate any movie that uses time travel. Very, very few.
Even Back to
And
the
I,
Future?
well, I said very, very few. Very,
Okay.
very few have hit the landing on time travel movies because by its very nature, you're creating very chaotic situations that end up not making any sense. And it also gives you this kind of weak ability to write yourself out of problems, which I don't really respect when they
That's
do
what
that.
Deadpool 2 was making fun of.
And the thing is, here's my other concern. If deaths in the end game, let's say there is, I'm not saying there's any deaths. I'm saying if there is, how are we supposed to take them seriously when there's a juxtaposition of people coming back? So it's going to create its own paradox within the actual movie.
Not just that, but the MCU has a history of characters, quote, dying and coming back. Loki's died like 3 times. He really didn't die. Nick Fury faked his death. They've done it a lot, dude. Coulson.
Yeah, but at the same time, there within the universe, it's explained that they faked it. In other words, they write themselves out of it in very clever ways. But here, they're gonna if some of our heroes die, the other ones are gonna come back. So how do you? It's in the actual movie that's gonna happen. So that's gonna be weird. My first question is, why don't you just bring the other ones? But you know what I'm saying? Like it just there's too many questions after you see that. Like, why don't you just bring all of them back? Why don't you just do whatever you did, which I don't know yet, and then bring everybody back and be happy? But we're not supposed to accept that. So that's gonna create this weird situation for me that might affect my enjoyment of the movie. That's about the only thing. I just hate fucking time travel, bro. I hate that shit.
I like that they're focusing mostly on the original Avengers too, from the first film. They're like, there's a few extra people, like, you got to have Rocket there for certain reasons, and Gamora and I'm sorry, Nebula, and we've got Okoye and Wong, and like some of the buddies are still around, and Ant-Man, but they're using the original Avengers. And by the way, Ant-Man is one of the OG Avengers, not Scott Lang, Hank Pym is, but still, like, I really like that they're really focusing on the original cast. This might be their last big movie together, bro. If people die and don't come back.
Yeah, you're right about that.
This could be a transitional film. They're gonna beat Thanos, and then it'll be a new group of Avengers going forward into Phase 4.
So here's the cast so far that's coming back.
Well, it's everyone, bro.
No, but let me tell you about guys that are coming back, and because I just saw there's a big spoiler here. Okay, Frank Grillo. Tessa Thompson.
That's right.
And Hiroku Sanada is booked for this, and that's all I'll say about that, because I think that's a big spoiler. People could put 2 and 2 together there.
Wait, Sanada from All Japan?
So he's already there. He's in the IMDb, and
well, wait a minute. Okay. Obviously, the guy's got a history of films, but I don't understand how that's a spoiler.
Well, there's a certain villain that's of Asian descent that's never been introduced in the MCU.
The Mandarin? That would pop. Bro, if they got Ken Watanabe to play the real Mandarin, bro, that's perfect, right?
Ken Watanabe was in the running for the Chosen One.
Yeah, I know, but he should play the real Mandarin, bro.
Like the real one? Like go out in the real world and fucking start fucking shit up?
No. I don't think he has the 10 ring powers.
Dave Bautista is booked for this movie.
Of course, I mean, they're all coming back. Even if it's only for a cameo, they'll all be back. But I mean, they're all gonna team up at some point, I'm sure.
What about if they show Eddie Norton like on the street or something?
No, that's not gonna make sense.
I would do it, bro. Fuck it.
That is not going to make sense.
Yeah, Natalie Portman's not on here though.
Nope. Good riddance, bro. Hit the bricks.
Don Cheadle's way up here on the cast, but I guess he's gonna have a big role to play.
Well, he's alive. That's probably why.
Oh yeah, okay. So this cast, yeah, is like all the ones that are killed are kind of like credited with.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany, bro.
Well, we love him, but is Thanos gonna die in this one?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think they're gonna because they have that whole arc where if in the future of these movies they have another villain grab the Infinity Gauntlet, they might need him to help, which they've done in the comics as well. Remember, in this comic book shit, heels become baby faces real quick, and then they go heel again. Happens all the time.
It's like the Attitude Era.
Yeah, it's like Ole Anderson, bro. He's babyface for a year. Yeah, we talked about that over on our other show, the KLB, the best turns in wrestling. Check it out on iTunes, by the way, the K Fabulous Lucha Brothers. So we're done.
That's it. I'm
Yep.
excited.
Maybe.
Well, no, let me give your thoughts. I give my thoughts on my concerns and my excitement. What about you?
My only concerns is where they go going forward, because I feel like they have built up this thing so well for the past 11 years that they're gonna basically hit the reset button after this, and I'm just wondering, like, I trust them to make good movies. I'm just wondering if it's ever gonna be this culturally like powerful. Like, is it gonna be? Are we not gonna get like the big blow off for this arc until Phase 6? Like, you know what? And how long will these actors still stick around? Like, I'm more thinking about beyond this movie, because really Phase 4 is going to continue. But let's be real, if they wanted to stop here, they could. Like, if they ended it with Endgame and whatever happens in the movie, that could be the end of the saga entirely. And they're not. They're going to keep going. So,
well, there's still a lot of characters. There's still Adam Warlock. There's still the Nova Corps.
I know, but I'm just saying they could still end it here and have it be like the wrap up of this arc.
There's still Howard the Duck. There's all kinds of movies that are going to be made.
Who plays him? Seth Green plays Howard the Duck. Yeah.
There's still a Celestials movie coming out supposedly.
Well, I'm looking forward to when they bring in Doctor Doom. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Victor Von Doom.
Yep. Yeah.
He would have to be connected to the Fantastic Four, right?
I think so, but the thing about Victor Von Doom is, just like with a lot of the other great villains, like even the Collector and Thanos. Thanos was originally an Iron Man villain. People forget that, but they start off small, then they get big. Doctor Doom becomes a major character, but he starts off, yeah, you're right, being a Fantastic Four villain, and then he just gets way beyond that.
Because. Is he in that same spacecraft they're at, or is that just the movies continually using that plot device?
Wait, who?
Doctor Doom. Is he? You know how in the movies they make it out to seem like he's friends with them when they get their powers?
Oh yeah, well in all the movies they have it portrayed like that.
But is that how it is in the comics, or is he just like this character that's already evil?
He actually was not given a full origin story until like 2 years after
Fantastic Four?
Until the Fantastic Four started, yeah. He was there in Fantastic Four issue number 5. He was there. It's just that he didn't really get the full origin story. So, theoretically, the answer is no.
So he wasn't one of the astronauts that went up in space and got the powers?
I don't believe so. I've never read those old Fantastic Four. I don't know. I don't know the details of it, but I know that that it was changed for the films, and it's always been like that for the films.
So another thing too that I was thinking about that would really make me happy and make me mark out is that if they do go back in time and they visit all these old sets from the previous 10 years, right. I would really appreciate that.
Oh, that's the rumor. Yeah, I mean that's actually been there's actually leaked.
Because we've only seen the Battle of New York, but I would like to see like Asgard one more time, those kind of places. I would like to see like the Shield facility where Avengers 1 took place. All that shit would maybe mark out.
No, I agree with that. And seeing like Captain America dressed like how he dressed back then, that would be great. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Red Skull, bro. That was a big surprise too.
They kept it, bro, and that was good.
Yeah, but it wasn't Hugo, but that's okay.
No, he didn't want to put up with the fucking 10 hours of makeup every day.
Yeah, even though he was under a cloak most of the time, but it's whatever.
Well, that's even worse, bro, because when you make a movie, you have all that makeup on and it only makes it for like fucking 10 minutes of the film. That's
less
even
than
more
that. Less, like 2 minutes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Hey, doctor, how do I look?
Is that Double G?
No. No, that was the Red Skull when he's punking that artist to make a picture of him.
No, I thought you were just trolling.
Without the Hugo Weaving face, by the way, with the Red Skull face.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But hey, thanks for being here and joining me on this journey, Phase 3 of MCU. Hopefully you'll come back maybe in a few weeks after Infinity War's out, or I'm sorry, Endgame. We can talk about the movie really in depth.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would love to. And thanks for having me. And I really use this podcast as this cathartic kind of emotional output because I've seen these films. I told you I see them all. I always cycle all of them whenever there's a new Avengers movie. So I've seen them at least 4 times, and I've really resonated with the characters. I think they've done a great job, and we'll see where it all ends up.
Yep. No, for sure. Yeah, well, thanks for being here, and thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. And enjoy Endgame. Hopefully it'll be great.
Later.